Most developers know how to use Azure Databricks, but do you actually know how it works under the hood? Understanding the architecture is what separates someone who just runs notebooks from someone who can design, scale, and secure real data solutions. Let's break it down completely. Azure Databricks is not just a tool, it is a layered platform built on a very specific architecture. And this architecture has one main goal: keep your data secure inside your own environment, while Databricks handles everything else for you. Here is the interesting part. The entire platform is split into two main layers, the control plane and the data plane. These two layers have completely different responsibilities, and understanding the difference is essential. Let us start with the control plane. Think of the control plane as the brain of Azure Databricks. It is the part that Azure and Databricks manage for you. You never touch it directly. It lives outside your Azure subscription, in Databricks' own infrastructure. So what does the control plane actually do? It handles four main things. First, the web application. Everything you see in the Databricks user interface, the notebooks, the workspace, the menus, all of that is served from the control plane. Second, cluster management. When you click Start Cluster, the control plane is the one sending that instruction. It decides what type of virtual machines to spin up, how many nodes to create, and when to shut things down. Third, job scheduling. When you schedule a notebook to run at 9 a.m. every day, that schedule lives in the control plane. It is the control plane that triggers the job at the right time. And fourth, user authentication and access control. When you log in, when you set permissions on a notebook or a table, all of that is managed here. This is a core concept. The control plane is the brain. It orchestrates everything. But, and this is the important part, it never actually touches your data. Now let us talk about the data plane. If the control plane is the brain, then the data plane is the worker. This is where the actual processing happens. And unlike the control plane, the data plane lives inside your Azure subscription, inside your environment. When your cluster starts, the virtual machines spin up inside your own Azure Virtual Network. When Spark runs your code, it runs on your machines, reading from your storage, writing to your storage. Databricks never sees your data. This is what makes Azure Databricks enterprise ready. Your data never leaves your boundary. You get full control, full security, and full compliance. Here is a real-world analogy. Imagine you hire a project management company to run your construction site. The project management company, that is the control plane. They plan the work, schedule the teams, manage the timeline. But the actual construction, that happens on your land, with your materials, by workers deployed into your property. That is the data plane. Now here's something important for interviews. When someone asks you, where does Databricks store your data? The answer is, in your own Azure storage. Not in Databricks infrastructure, not in the control plane. Your data always stays in your environment. Let us move on to the workspace. The Databricks workspace is your collaborative environment. Think of it as your team's shared office inside Databricks. Everyone on your team logs into the same workspace. They can see each other's notebooks, collaborate on projects, share libraries, and run jobs together. Inside a workspace, you have notebooks, where you write Python, SQL, Scala, or R code. You have jobs, automated pipelines that run on a schedule or trigger. You have libraries, packages you install on clusters. You have clusters, the compute resources your notebooks run on. And you have the Data Explorer, where you browse your tables and schemas. The workspace is where your day-to-day work happens. It's organized into folders, just like a file system. Teams can have their own folders, and admins control who has access to what. Now let us talk about clusters, the compute heart of Databricks. A cluster is a group of virtual machines that work together to run your Spark jobs. There is always one driver node and one or more worker nodes. The driver is like a manager. It receives your code, breaks it into smaller tasks, and distributes those tasks to the workers. The workers execute the tasks in parallel. That is the power of Apache Spark, massive parallelism across multiple machines. There are two types of clusters. The first is all-purpose clusters. These stay running and are shared by your team for interactive development and exploration. The second is job clusters. These are created specifically for one job, run it, and then automatically terminate. They are more cost-efficient for automated pipelines. Here's an interview tip. If someone asks why job clusters are preferred for production workloads, the answer is cost and isolation. They spin up fresh each time, so there is no risk of state from a previous run, and they shut down when done so you're not paying for idle compute. Now let us bring it all together. The control plane is the brain. It manages your workspace, schedules jobs, and controls clusters. The data plane is the worker. It's where your actual data processing happens, inside your own Azure environment. The workspace is your team's collaborative hub, and clusters are the Apache Spark compute engines that actually run your code. This architecture gives you three things. Scalability, your clusters can grow to any size based on your workload. Security, your data never leaves your Azure boundary. And collaboration, your entire team works in one unified platform. That's the complete architecture of Azure Databricks.
If this helped you understand the platform better, hit like, leave a comment with any questions, and subscribe for more. I post videos like this every week.